The Shepnaz Podcast begins now.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome to the Shepnaz Podcast. Again, we're on the road. It's looking a little different today, but it is everybody's favorite day of the week.
Worship Wednesday.
Yes, sir. It's going to be a good one. Well, hey, if you haven't watched the podcast for a long time, we're trying some new stuff here. We are on the road. We are down in Logan, Ohio, and I have somebody very special to my heart and somebody that I know you guys are going to be excited to hear. So let's welcome in the one, the only, Mr. Sawyer Harlow. Come on, everybody. Welcome. Yay.
Thanks for having me, man.
Dude, thank you so much. I was just... not overly thanking, but very much thanking Sawyer because we are doing this early in the morning. This is very early. If you don't know, around Shepherd, things get a little busy. And because of that busyness, Sawyer is being very kind and accommodating. We were texting yesterday, and I'm like, hey, dude, you want to do the podcast? He's like, sure. I was like, what about tomorrow at 8 o'clock in the morning?
It's all good, man.
Yes, well, I appreciate you. So if you don't know Sawyer, we got a special relationship because Sawyer is the worship pastor and associate pastor. Did I get that correct? Associate and worship?
Yeah.
At Logan Church in Nazarene, which is where Kristen and I were before we came to Shepherd.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I think I just stole your intro, but introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm living your past life.
Right.
So it's great.
Listen, I still miss the house.
I know, man. It's the best perk.
Right. It's great.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's crazy to think, our family will have been there 5 years at the end of October.
That's so wild.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So been there 5 years, associate worship pastor. My wife and I have 6 kids, all the way from 11 down to 1 year next week. So
that's crazy.
So it's fun. It's crazy, but I've been in ministry, probably 12 years now.
Okay.
So
nice.
And before this is my first time being a worship pastor.
Right.
I was a youth pastor before that for almost, for like 5 to 8 years, something like that.
Right.
So
it's all a blur at this point.
And it's funny because I feel like I walked myself right into it because I always said, I am never going to be a worship pastor. Never.
Right.
I'm like, man, I see how difficult, and I see the complaints, and I see it's like, I don't want to be a worship pastor. And then here we are. So I have a hard time still considering myself as a worship pastor.
Right.
It's weird. I feel like I'm like, I don't know. I'm not really. I'm not like the guy. I'm not like the real worship pastor. It's like, so yeah, I still have a weird thing with it, but it's great. We love Logan. Great community. Cool little town.
Yes.
Tons of things to do. And my kids love it. So
that's awesome.
We're glad to be here.
Heck yeah, man. Yeah. We miss Logan and we loved living here. It was just such a cool time. And for us, it was like a total God time because, our journey was so weird. Like we came from Grove City, was there for 6 years. And then we just felt that stirring. Like you've experienced this where it's like, at least for us, it was okay. Like we found our forever place, and I hate saying this now because it makes me feel like a turd when I say this, but like, when we were at Grove City, it was like, we found our forever place. Like
never leaving.
Yeah. We're never leaving. It's the biggest place ever. Why would we ever leave?
Yeah.
And the Lord just gave us this, like, we jokingly call it like our holy discontent.
Yes.
And it was
I know that.
Yeah. It was like, this doesn't make sense, but we don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah.
Like, we just knew the Lord was doing something. And when it was Logan, we're like, okay, God.
Are you serious?
You're like, yeah. It was like, it was just
the Hocking Hills.
Right. And it was just such a shift for us. But it was totally what God needed or what we needed from the Lord in that season. And like, that's when COVID hit. And so being able to be right there in the parsonage. And it was just, we had our second child at that point, like right when COVID hit. So it was just, the Lord knew exactly what he was doing. But I'll tell you what, man, like I love this place.
Yes.
Like I love Logan so much.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like when we moved back up to the city, quote unquote, at Shepherd, like we find ourselves coming back down here all of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, like we're here right now,
It's,
it's great.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. And same thing for us. We felt that same kind of like this came exactly when we needed it,
right?
And was able to do a lot of healing and a lot of growth in these last 5 years. So it's been really great, and it's weird now because like you get used to the hustle and bustle of the city,
right?
And then you come down here for a while, and then once you go up to the city, you're like, why is everything so fast?
Right.
Like, wait, why is there so much traffic?
Goodness,
it takes me 20 minutes to get anywhere. So,
yes.
So you kind of slow down. Like your life kind of slows down when you're here. So it's been kind of cool.
Yeah, 100%. That's one of the things I miss the most.
Yeah.
And like, don't get me wrong, I love Shepherd. I love the church I'm at. But man, it was like I hit the gas pedal when we came back. I was just like, oh my gosh, what is happening? Yeah. So yeah, I love Logan. Love Tom. Love Pastor Tom. Love the family. So we miss these guys, man.
Yeah.
But very stoked for what you're doing. And, obviously we've been kind of watching from afar and just to watch the growth of the church and to watch some of the shifts that are happening is so beautiful, man. Like, because we are always going to love that place, and to see what the Lord has done through you and your ministry has been, it's awesome, man. You're killing it.
Thanks,
so
man.
love it, dude. Keep it up, buddy. Keep it up.
Yeah, and we're done. No.
Have a great day. That's the podcast.
That's it.
I love it. So, you have been here for about 5 years, but tell me a little bit about, maybe a brief version of your ministry story. Like, what made you want to do ministry? Is it something you even wanted to do? Like, what did that look like for you coming into all this?
Yeah, so I grew up in the church, not the Nazarene church.
Okay.
Very close, 3CU. So sisters.
Yeah.
And
say kissing cousins in the Nazarene church.
And it's funny because the church I grew up in, there was a Nazarene church right down the street. I didn't even know it existed. So until I met my wife, I didn't know what a Nazarene was. I've never heard of the word other than the Bible.
Right.
But yeah, so I grew up in church, was there all the time. My mom was like the song leader. And so I was there all the time, running around. I owned the place, Sundays, mornings, nights, Wednesdays, the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
Grew up in church. So I always tell people I never knew a time where I didn't love Jesus. Like that's just how it is. Like there are people who have this real conversion moments, and then there are people who just live it. Yeah. And it's like, that was me. I just never knew a time where I didn't love Jesus. Yeah. But there were times in my life where I had to keep saying yes. Yep. And so, I remember at the age of 13 sitting in the back seat of my mom's car. My mom was a single mom. And, so just me, me, my brother, my sister, and her most of the time. But I remember sitting in the back seat of the car one day we were driving, and just this thought popped into my head. I don't know where it came from, but just, it was just basically like, you're going to be a pastor. And I said it out loud as soon as I heard it. And I was like, Mom, I want to be a pastor. And from then I really did get really good opportunities at my home church to serve and to grow, to teach Bible studies to smaller kids than I was, and got involved with an evangelism group and was helping lead 5-day clubs as a teenager, which is kind of weird as a teen guy to do. But I loved the idea, and what I loved was teaching and preaching. And I preached my first sermon at like 15, and it was probably the worst thing ever. I basically took some clips from I read this Christian magazine. I was like, oh, these are really great points. I'm going to make that into my sermon. So it was bad, but
that's fantastic.
You got to start somewhere, right?
You do, of course.
Yeah. So then that was up till about 16, and then I kind of got more involved with other things. Music. I was in a little folky band, and started to get involved with that, and ministry. I was still going to church, still playing on the worship team, that kind of thing, but ministry kind of fell out of my mind. I was kind of just like, well, everybody needs volunteers at their church. Right. I could do that because I wanted to do music. That's what I wanted to do. And so I ended up kind of forgetting about my call, and into college, started college for broadcasting and digital media, tried to, wanted to do radio stuff, wanted to do recording stuff. Yeah. And I just, things in my life it was almost like the doors started to shut on everything else. College, just financially, wasn't working out. My dad, who, was kind of in and out of my life, at that point had died. And I kind of had this existential crisis at like 18, 19. And I'm just like, what am I doing with my life? And I remember, I'll name drop. I was at Heritage Naz with my wife, was going with her pretty faithfully. We were about to be engaged. We were crazy, got engaged at the age of 19. So
nice.
And so we were in Sunday service, and I don't remember, and this was Pastor Wendell Brown was the pastor there, and he was preaching a sermon. I don't remember what it was about, but I remember just feeling that pull to go to the altar that I hadn't felt in years, since like church camp days. And I remember feeling that, and I just remember saying, I can't do anything on my own anymore. I'm done trying. I can't do it. And I'm just going to let you take over. Like just that was my yes. And that's what I point to as my sanctification in that moment was yes, whatever it is. Yes.
That's
and
awesome.
then from then doors started to open. I got ministry opportunities, was able to go to Ohio Christian and do ministry stuff. And that's when that kind of came about. So it was like a weird way of like, it seemed like a very easy path, and then it went down, and then it kind of came back around. God kind of figured it out, even in spite of my silliness.
Right, right, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah,
and it's like that's what I love about the way that the Lord works. Is like it's from the outside looking in. Like even big picture. When I say that, it's like that's to maybe somebody who's outside of it could be like a really annoying thing or a frustrating thing. That like when God puts a call in your life, like He does not let you forget it.
Yes. Yeah.
And whether that's through gentle reminders, whether that's through like, hey, I'm asking you to walk through this door. And so I'm going to shut every other one until you choose the path I've
like
had.
Jonah.
Exactly.
I will swallow you up.
Yeah, exactly, man. 100%. Well, that's amazing, man. So I love what you said. With your position at Logan, like you never considered yourself the worship guy, but it's something you do on a weekly basis. Well, almost weekly basis, right? So what is worship ministry to you? Like when you look at, why we worship together, like why is it important to you? Why does it matter to the church?
Yeah.
Like for you in worship ministry specifically, how would you, if you're sitting across from somebody who's never known what worship ministry is or why it's important, what would you tell somebody?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think I think one of the biggest things that worship can do, one, singing and celebrating God is something for millennia we have done. Right. And so it's like almost a natural response to God's goodness and God's faithfulness. You can't help but to do something and sing or shout or, bang on an instrument, whatever it may be.
Right.
So like that natural response, but also I think something that especially earlier in the church, a lot of times these songs were meant to form our faith and form our view of God and teach us about who Jesus is. And I still think that's a very important part of worship. I think everything we sing is teaching someone something about who God is. Yep. And so we got to take that seriously.
100%.
And so I as a like, beginner worship guy coming here, I had like been on worship teams before. I've led worship at events, things, but I'd never been like the worship person. Right. And, I just was like, I don't really know where to start. Like, how do we, and our church is a little different in the way that, we don't always operate in like sermon series. Right. So a lot of times it's one-off. We'd probably do like 3 series a year, which is nice because it's like, oh, I'll just do songs that have to do with this series topic. But there are many weeks where I'm like, I just get to sing whatever I want. Right. Like, and you can really get, that can be dangerous because it's like, let's just play everything I like and, whatever you think, whatever. But I started thinking like, I've got to systematize this so that I can do it justice because it's such an important job. You are informing people about God. You are corporately together worshiping Him and praying prayers and singing truths about God. So like, how do I do this? So I started turning to the lectionary, which has been kind of cool. And so I'll go to the Sundays worship, the Sundays scriptures for the lectionary a lot of times, and I'll find a psalm or find something, and then I will basically craft my worship set from the psalm or from whatever it is from the week. And so, and a lot of times I'll read the psalm before we start, because I was like, I got to find a starting point what better starting point than Scripture?
Right.
So
Right.
and the cool thing is it's funny how that always works out, where it's like, even if there's a speaker where I don't know what they're going to talk about,
Right.
somehow what we sang is helping prop up what they're preaching.
100%,
So it's really cool.
Yeah.
So worship has been interesting for me, but I really do think the importance of what we're teaching through songs is a really big deal. And we've got, as worship pastors, have to take that very seriously.
100%. I love that, dude. So it's funny. I've talked about this probably more than people want to hear on the podcast, but so one of the things that I have had to learn at Shepherd specifically is, Rob, our pastor, he's a busy dude. And a lot of times he will write his sermons for Sunday on Tuesday before. And I'm the kind of guy that I'm like, I want my team to have at least 2 to 3 weeks, if not a month, to practice these songs. And so same situation, what do we sing? How do I do this? Because it's like you said, there are certain songs that I'm like, okay, this is something we're going to introduce to the team. So we'll just throw it in there. But I don't want it to just be all right, pull songs out of a hat and hope they work. And so I've literally been spending 90% of my prep time is it's just time with God. Yes. And I'm like, okay,
Prayer,
God,
Scripture.
I don't know what to do, but I'm trusting you. And how many times that it's been I would have never known in a million years what we were preaching on, but the entire set worked out perfectly to where the Lord was just all right, well, I know what he's going to preach on. And so here's the songs you need to sing. Here's how you need to worship on Sunday. And it's just funny, God always works it out that way.
Yeah.
There's been very few Sundays. Let me rephrase it. You can tell the Sundays that I didn't pray hard enough, or I didn't prepare how I should have.
Right.
Because it's what are we doing up here? But most of the time when you just rely on the Lord and when you rely on him through Scripture, and that's what's another thing we say all the time at Shepherd that I love is, we are hearing from the living word, that to me has breathed new life recently, because it's the living word is not just a book. It's literally moving and breathing and speaking what is fresh today.
Yeah.
Even in ways that I'm I don't know what we're going to preach on. So I'm going to use the living word to just navigate. Yeah. It's breathing, it's moving. Exactly. It's and it's relevant, Yeah. So I love that, dude. That's so good. Okay. So another cool thing that you do specifically that I wanted to hit on while we were here is you have kind of initiated, I don't know what the word is, which is why I'm curious, the Young Clergy Network here on the South Central Ohio District, which as a young pastor, I haven't had enough time to be a part of it I want to, but I love what you're doing with the Young Clergy Network. So can you kind of explain what it is, what it is and why we do it and why it's important?
Yeah, the Young Clergy Network is it's been a really cool endeavor to jump into. It's really started a little over a decade ago as sort of a grassroots thing. It wasn't really affiliated with officially affiliated with the Nazarene denomination. Okay. And it was just it was a group of young pastors who got together to encourage one another, to resource one another, with the goal of wanting to promote healthy pastors that have longevity. Yeah. And because there is a crisis of pastors who come in and dip right out because it gets hard.
Yeah, man. So
a few years ago, the Nazarene denomination kind of officially brought it under its wing, and they formed a council, and they have kind of systematized it a little bit. And their goal was to try to start a Young Clergy Network on every district.
Oh, cool.
How that's going, I'm not sure. Yeah. I just know about our district. But but yeah, I was one of my very good friends is the regional rep for our region, and he was like, "Hey, I'm hosting this meeting," and "Hey, if you're in it, I'm gonna come." And so so I just felt like, "Hey, let's just start that." And so a few years ago, me and Joshua Tickham from the Naz in Grove City kind of together said, let's do this. And so we put together some just times for us to meet as young clergy, 40 and under, which is always offensive to people because they're like, I'm going to be 40 next month, or I'm 41. And so it's I feel bad, but that's the rule. Yeah. No, but
gotta have a cutoff at some point.
Yeah. So 40 and under, we get together, and our main goals are to network with young pastors, to resource young pastors, and to equip healthy leaders. And so we really want to just be there for pastors. And so we have lots of ideas and things like that. Over this last year, we tried some new things that we figured we kind of found out didn't work as well. Yeah. So this new year, we're kind of jumping in to do different things. We're going to have a Young Clergy Refresh Day here at the Hocking Hills Retreat Center on September 12th. Registration is live for that. But awesome. But yeah, so really just it's been a great way for me to meet more pastors in the district, and to really help younger pastors than me, which is crazy because I feel like I'm the young guy still. I guess I'll always feel that way. We'll probably always feel that
100%.
But yeah, I think it's been really cool, the connections that I've been able to make. And most of the time, we'll send out surveys and ask people like, what do you need from this? How would this make better? And pretty much every time somebody's like, we just want a safe place where we can just talk. Yes. And we can not around our staff, not around the people in our congregation, just people who understand what it is. We don't even have to say certain things. We just know. Right. And we can just kind of safely know that there's people there that are there for us. So, we really want to get more involved with having more regular meetups, and also having, some resources to share, because it's what I love about this district is there's so many different types of churches and so many different sizes and styles. But I think if we had some sort of way to share all of our resources, everyone would be better. Yeah. So that's 100%. Something else that I really want to work on with our young clergy to let them know, like, hey, if you're first starting out at a church and you've never done this before, you've got some tools, you've got some procedures, you can, templates, you've got some sermon series and graphic, you can use these things so that you're not left completely to have to make everything up yourself. So that's huge. So it's been really cool, and we're looking forward to more, good things here in the future. So
I love that, dude. Well, if there's any way I can help share resources with that, dude, sign me up, because though, like I'm admitting to you and admitting to you, like, it's extremely important. And I am falling into what I'm sure a lot of people fall into with this young clergy age group is like, life gets busy, kids get busy, like everything's just busy. Yes. But it's so important for health and longevity to have these times, like I want to encourage anybody listening, and maybe myself out loud here, is like being reminded that, us young pastors and just pastors in general, like we're people. Yeah. We're human beings that go through the same stuff that the world has to go through. Plus we're carrying the weight of our churches, our congregations. And so often we feel like, well, I'm a pastor, so I just got to bottle that up. I got to keep it in. And how destructive that can be, man. It's like we're all going through it. And like you said, there's things that like you don't even have to say. Yeah. Like we just know. We get it. Like, you have more than double the amount of children that I have. But you get it. Like you get how ministry is with children, and with the expectations that come with being, the next chair down, or just the weight that ministry carries. And we're not meant to carry it alone. Right. And so I love what you guys are doing, dude. And, when it comes to resources, if there's anything we can do, like sign us up, man. Absolutely. Like I'm all in. I love what you're doing. So kudos to you, man, because it's a big deal. It's like, this needs to happen. Yeah. And it's funny. I am now in the phase where I'm beginning to not feel like the young guy
approaching.
Yes. And it's weird. Yeah. It's so weird. Like the past few staff hires we've had at Shepherd have all been like real young people. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm starting to feel like the old guy, but it's cool. Like having this transition in ministry for me, where it's like, okay, how do I now take the things that I've learned over the past 12, 13 years now, and pass that down to the next guy. So it's like, here's some of the hard stuff I went through. Here's how you don't have to go through it. Like, so I love what you're doing, man.
Thanks, man.
That's so good. All right. Well, one last question I have, and this is something I love asking every guest, because this question came from that season, like what I was just saying, like I'm now realizing that I'm not the young guy anymore, and coming to grips with that is hard, but it's important. And I'm starting to look back over the life of ministry that I've walked through. And I remember sitting up one night, like having this, quarter life crisis or whatever, midlife, whatever I'm at now. And I had this question, like, man, what would I tell myself if I could go back and like sit down with young Zack, who thinks he knows everything, and just sit across that desk from him and be like, dude, here's the things you have no clue that you're about to deal with. And I wish I could go back and share those things, but the reality is I can't. But what is something that you, Sawyer, if you could go back to the first day you started ministry, and now having all the experience that you have now, all the trials, all the victories, all the knowledge that you have gathered, what would you tell yourself if you could go back to that day one, Sawyer?
Yeah, that was a great question. I'm glad you gave me it ahead of time because I had time to think about it. And it kind of goes along with just what you were just talking about. And the first thing that came to my mind was I would tell that guy, little Sawyer, I would tell him, work on being a person, not just a pastor. Mm-hmm. And I fell into this trap really early on where being a pastor became my whole life. Yeah. And that sounds good and that sounds noble.
Right.
And most people wouldn't bat an eye at that. But I've seen in others and I saw in myself, I quickly started to see how dangerous that is to not be anything other than what you do, not be anything other than the pastor. Yeah. And so like, I would have told myself, get a hobby, man.
Right.
Like do something that has nothing, because I would find myself, I would do nothing but think about church things and ministry things that are coming up. And I'd be in bed thinking about it. And it would start to spill out into my relationship to where my wife's like, all you talk about is work. All you talk about is church. And it really put a strain early on our relationship because it became who I was. I had no other personality, no other thing I was interested in. And so I had to learn. And I think that was a beautiful part of coming here where life kind of slowed down a little bit. Yeah. Just naturally being in the Hocking Hills, where I learned more about Sabbath and I learned more about finding hobbies. There's so many pastors I come across that I'm like, they don't like to do anything but sit in their office. They don't like to do anything but talk about the church. They don't, which is like that. Again, some people will be like, well, that's what they're supposed to do. But man, like you said, we're people. Yes. We're people. And no one is expected to be what they do all the time. Right. And so, there's so many pastors I've come across that don't have hobbies and they don't have lives outside of ministry. So I would have told myself, find who you are outside of ministry, because who knows, maybe there's a day where vocational ministry is no longer able. I'm no longer able to do that. Yep. Would I lose my entire identity? And if the answer is yes, which it would have been years ago, I would have been lost. I don't know what I would have, because, almost like, an idol that I had to worship, that I was worshiping. And so, I definitely would have tried to I don't know if I would have listened, a young, arrogant 20-something, but I would have told myself, get a hobby, be a person, not just a pastor.
That's huge, man. That's huge. And man, what a hard thing to tell yourself too, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's, for so many young people, like I remember I was the same exact way. Yeah. And, like all I talked about was, well, I'm on staff at Grove City. Yeah. That was my whole thing. Yeah. And I remember the day it kind of like woke up and remembered like, there's a lot of people who don't care, Zack. Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was like this badge of honor. Right. That are like, oh yeah, I'm a pastor. And they're like, okay. So like, what do you do? Yeah. Like, how do I relate to you? Yeah. And I had to have this like crisis moment. And it happened when we moved down here too, of like, okay, what is my actual identity? Yeah. God didn't make me as just Pastor Zack. He's like, I made you as the son of a king. And that's not just happening on a platform with a guitar in your hand. Right. Like I've made you to love people. I've made you to love the outdoors. I've made you to love fishing. I've made you to love hiking and like, love your family well. And it's a hard thing. Yeah. But man, it's so important for us as pastors and to realize that like our first real ministry as married people, as fathers, like our first ministry is not from the pulpit.
Right.
And I had to learn that the hard way, man.
Yeah.
I had to learn it the hard way. So that's a powerful thing to tell yourself.
Yeah,
so
it is.
Good for you. You're killing it, dude.
Thanks, man.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, Sawyer, thanks so much for coming on, dude.
Yeah.
And if people are interested, before we do this outro, how can they get a hold of you if they have any questions about the Young Clergy Network stuff? What's the best way to contact you?
You can email me, Sawyer@LoganNazarene.com.
Perfect.
And then, or you can go on, LoganNazarene.com website, find me there.
Yep.
And I'd love to talk to you, see how you can get involved. Even, if you've got a kid who's interested in ministry or a college student that is, on our district or, something like that. I'd love to, engage with them to try to, get them involved with Young Clergy. Mm-hmm. If if you just know a young pastor who's trying to get involved, I'd love to talk to them. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it, dude. Well, thank you so much for coming on, man. If you don't know, now you know, folks. Listen, for young people, I really think this is extremely important, to have a level of community, a level of support that is so important. And if you're a person that thinks you don't need it, I hate to tell you, you're wrong. Like we've been built to do life together. And we're fortunate enough on this district to have people like Sawyer who see that, who value that. So if that's something you're curious about, please reach out, man. And if you have more questions about it and you want to reach out to us directly, the email is podcast@shepnaz.org. And Sawyer, thanks so much for coming on, dude. We really appreciate you. Love what you're doing in ministry. Y'all have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time.
This podcast is a production of the Shepherd Church of the Nazarene, Gahanna, Ohio. Email to podcast@shepnaz.org and let us know what you think.